Hey, so story time. And this story that I'm going to share with you is a personal experience that I went through, lived through, and it's about perspective and how it can really change your life. I got new spectacles because I'm going to be 50 in 2 months, and it really does, it's how the lens that you see the world through. So that's what kind of made me think of this to share this with you. And your perspective is the lens that you see the world through. So I'm going to take these off though, so they're not so shiny. Okay, so my mom. So if any of you know, well, hi, I'm Megan. I'm founder of Megan Method, and I am a self trust and perspective coach. I help women in their 40s and beyond overcome self doubt, indecision, and overthinking and cultivate unshakable self trust. I also help with shifting perspective so you can literally live your best life. So that's my little introduction of myself. So, my mom, um, this April coming up will be 20 years that she is crossed over, gone home, that she passed away, which is crazy when I think about it, that it's been 20 years. And I feel so blessed that I had the experience that I had when she passed away. So, just to give a little insight as to kind of what went on with her, um, and to also help with perspective at the end of this, right? So I was 21, excuse me, when she was diagnosed with a brain tumor, cancerous brain tumor. And the doctors had said that if the tumor didn't come back after the first brain surgery, the tumor didn't come back in 5 years, she'd be in pretty good shape that it wouldn't come back. But if it did come back, it would always come back and eventually take her life. So obviously it came back. That's what happened because she's gone. And I also have a lot of peace around it that she's not stuck here in that sick body anymore. Her spirit is free and I feel her with me very much. So I will explain how that all came to be. So I'm 21 by myself, really, right? I was in a abusive, unhealthy relationship with a boyfriend at the time, which, relationships in our 20s help us learn about ourselves and the people pleaser in me and all of those things. And so when she went in for her surgery, like I wasn't sure. I mean, they're going into her brain. I didn't know if she would even remember me when she came out or she would even be the same. And so the first surgery was successful and she came out and she was okay. She ended up having to go through 2 rounds of chemo and radiation from the first surgery and then again after the second surgery, which was just like when I think about her strength and how tough she was, I just am in awe because it was really tough. So she was 51 when she passed away. So I'll be 50 in January. And it's just this really strange kind of like place to be. If anyone has lost a parent, when you were fairly young, you're faced with not only their mortality, right? Because now you're losing a parent, but, I was 30 when she passed, and I was a mom. My son was like 5, 6 years old, and losing my mom and thinking about my own mortality and what's important, right? Like when you lose someone you love, parent, whatever, anybody, right? Friends, family, it doesn't matter. It really, at least for me, it puts things into perspective really quickly about what matters, you know? And so that's a perspective that usually hits hard when we get the news and, go through the process of when we lose someone in the different ways that, some people sit Shiva, some people go to the wake and the funeral and all of that. But it puts things into perspective as like, wow, what's important? What am I focusing on? Because we really don't know, right? At the end of the day, we don't know when our last day will be, which is crazy to kind of think about, but it's true, right? So that's why they say live every day to the fullest, kind of. But it's hard to do that. We get caught in our head. So when my mom passed away, after the second surgery, she was not well. It took her some time to recover from it. They say that every time that you go in to the brain and you like oxygen hits the brain, it affects the person, which makes sense. And so she needed like rehabilitation. So she ended up going into a nursing home, into a Alzheimer's unit, because it was a locked unit, because she didn't have enough like wherewithal to like look both ways when crossing the street, right? Like it was like certain things just weren't, the synapses weren't firing anymore. And it took some time for her to kind of get back. She did get back and was sneaking out of the unit. So that was my mom. If anybody that knows her knows, yep, that was Carolyn. So my mom. So when she passed away, she was in this facility, and I was actually on my way there. A friend of mine, out of the blue, which I think was divine orchestration, right? So this all ties into the perspective. A friend of mine said, "Let me drive you there today." And I had no idea that was be the day, but thank you, God, right? Looking out for me and making sure that I didn't drive off the road. I got the call that she had passed while we were on our way there, and my friend was driving me, which, as you can imagine, even though I knew like she was on hospice and it was inevitable and it was coming, you're just never prepared for the call. Like it just like the wave of emotions, right? So we get there, and I'm now standing outside the room and going, how do I walk into that room right now? Like how do I walk in and see my, you know, late mother's body laying there and that she's gone? So I just kind of like stood outside for a couple minutes, and then one of the nurses came and they just like, come on, I'll bring you in and whatever. And so I went in, and I kissed her on the head. I said my goodbye and I love her and all of that, right? And now I'm in the room, and now I'm like, well, great. Now what? How do I leave? Right? How do I walk out of this room? Right? And my two sisters had come, because my mom, dad, my stepmom called them. There's a lot of branches to my family, but that's another story for another day. And so they were standing there and they were talking to the nurse, and I'm just kind of standing there, kind of like in this like daze. And all of a sudden, from the top of my head down all the way to the tips of my toes, I got this feeling of peace and calm. And I just like exhaled. It went through my whole body. And it was just like, okay, I can go. I can leave now. It's okay. Like she's not here. So I feel that that was the Holy Spirit or my mom's spirit letting me know she was okay. Like it was profound, and not a feeling that I've ever had again. I've had touches of it, right? Like glimpses of it, but nothing that I can say like that, like full body experience kind of thing. And a knowing of like, okay, it's good, we can go. And like I said, my sisters were talking to the nurse, and I just, after I felt it, and I was just like, whoa, And I was like, okay, we can go now. And they were just like, oh, oh, okay, okay, okay. I just think about that must have been so awkward for them too, but I just was so like kind of out of it, you know? So, all of this to say, because I was blessed with that peace that came over me and that calm, it allows me to have a perspective on life that, like, this surface level isn't it, or isn't all that's to it, right? Meaning life in general and us being here and our connection to God, divine, source, universe, the collective consciousness, the quantum field, like whatever you want to call it, there's something else. There's a higher power. That's my like hard belief that we are connected to something way bigger than us that our little brains cannot even comprehend. So, because of this connection to something higher than us, right? Even the divine orchestration that someone drove me that day, because I would have taken that call while I was driving, and who knows, you know what I mean? Like, not to say that I think I would have crashed, like, I think I would have been okay, but it totally like spun me. So, the fact that someone drove me that day, like, all of these things. So, right, divine orchestration. And there has been so much of that in my life, and it allows me to like lean back into trusting, at a bare minimum, trusting that there is a higher power at work in our lives, and we don't have to really worry. Like, it's all actually happening for us. So I know this is like a little, it's like a little woo woo, right? A little spiritually kind of, right? But because of the experience of losing my mom and then feeling that feeling throughout my whole body, it makes it undeniable for me personally. And, you know, there's tons of stories of people, you know, near death experiences and people feeling other people that have crossed over and all of that stuff. So I feel very lucky. That's why I was saying, like, I feel really blessed that I have that peace about losing my mom, because, I mean, she was young. I was young, right? 30. I mean, it was 20 years ago. So it's like, wow, I was so young. But she was young, right? 51. Like, whoa, you still got a lot of life to live. And that wasn't her path, right? That wasn't her soul's journey. Um, so I share this because perspective is so important, right? And it's the lens. Oh, these are the old ones, but there we go. It's the lens that we see the world through. And when you shift your perspective, right, like Wayne Dyer says, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And it is so profound knowing, for me, knowing that there is such divine orchestration always at play in my life. My perspective that it's literally all happening for me, for my growth, for my evolution. And I'm not saying it's easy. It was hard. Like, I was so sad after I lost my mom. I was like, whoa, like, it's a weird feeling with your mom. Like, there's this whole like umbilical cord kind of weirdness stuff in your belly. Like, there's like this like loss at such a deep level. It's very weird to explain unless you've felt it. It's hard to put into words, maybe is a better way to say that. So perspective is, right, they say, well, they say perception is reality, but your perspective literally will will change your life. If you change your perspective on things and how you look at things, it will change your life for sure. So I share that because if I hadn't gone through that experience of losing my mom and feeling that peace and knowing that she's with me and trusting that she's just on the non-physical side and just not stuck in that sick body anymore. Um, and like the signs, right? So I see 44 everywhere. And 4 has always been my favorite number. I don't know why. So 2 4s is 44, and that's, 2 of my favorite number. Like that was my like beeper code back in the day. Oh my gosh. I just totally aged myself. Um, and she passed away on April 4th. So I didn't even put that together until I saw her death certificate and it said 4-4, and I was like, "Whoa, that's weird." And then about a month later, I started seeing 44 freaking everywhere. Like I could not deny it. Like I wasn't looking for it. And then I started testing it and I'm like, "Okay. Like is this you, mom, or what? Like am I just being crazy?" So I started testing it, and when I would go and look for it, I wouldn't see it, which was even more wild. So 44 is just a thing for people that know me. I've shared that story with a lot of people. My son sees it regularly too, right? Grandma's with you, whatever. And I even upped the ante. I'm like, all right, you know what? 2 4s is too easy. Show me 3. And so then now I see 444 everywhere. I'm just like, wow. It's just, I mean, I see numbers a lot, but 444 is constant multiple times throughout the day, or even just I'll look at the clock, 1:44, 10:44, whatever. So to me, and I don't know if it's accurate or if it's actually true, but it's very comforting that that's my mom letting me know, like she's with me, she's supporting me, she's got my back kind of on the other side. So that's my perspective on it, and it feels so good to know like I'm not alone, right? And if you go down like the spiritual, because there's absolutely an aspect of my coaching and teaching and guidance and whatever that is connection to source. Like trust God, trust yourself, right? And co-create with him, right? Um, but knowing that you're supported in ways that we can't even, right? Our tiny little mind can't even comprehend or know feels really good. It feels really good. So I hope that lands and you find it valuable or helpful. If you have lost anyone, I'm so sorry for your loss. Like I said, I know the pain. I know the pain, and we miss them because, like, for ourselves, right? Because they're not with us anymore. But for them, like, they're free. My mom's not stuck in that sick body anymore with the brain tumor and all the things. So she's free. So I'm happy for her soul in that sense. And I know she's on the other side, like she's got me. You know what I mean? So let me know your thoughts. If anyone is interested in, having a deeper conversation about how cultivating self-trust or shifting a perspective can help you, please feel free to reach out. I would love to have a conversation. I am accepting clients. So any questions that you have, I have a Telegram that you can ask any questions, or just send me a message. You can set up a call on my website, meganmethod.com. And until next story time, have a great weekend.